Welcome to the Unlist. Ask and ye shall receive. This video is made as a request from a viewer. Something I haven't done in a while. You guys might remember back when I was filming in the white void, right? The blank void. I would sometimes do videos and I would say in the video, this was requested by someone. And you just never know. Sometimes someone says, hey, I'd really like it if you talk about this thing. And I go, hey, that's a good idea. I haven't talked about that thing before. Or I haven't talked about it in detail. So let's do it. The subject of this video, the gray market. Pretty good subject, actually. It's not something I see people talking about much in the YouTube space. Yeah, it gets some lip service in, like, forums and such, base notes and all that, but not so much in the visual format. So what was asked of me is to dispel the rumors about the gray market and explain what it is. For those of you who are just finding this channel, who don't know really all that much about buying perfumes, especially not buying them online, you probably don't even know what the gray market is. It's kind of like, I don't know who thought of the term, if it's sort of just like a joke, but it's basically like not as bad as the black market. So it's not illegal necessarily, but the legality of it is vague. And sometimes it could dip its toe in being illegal, and then other times be perfectly kosher. It just depends, right? That's why it's the gray market. And it's one of those things where usually the seller of the perfume is not liable for anything that's technically done illegal. It's the supplier that would be at fault, right? So, and the gray market is a place where a lot of unwanted perfumes go. Typically things that are returned by what we call first line retailers, or retailers where the perfumes go first to be sold at the MSRP. And then if they don't sell at that first line, then the usually brick and mortar sellers will do what's called an RTV, or return to vendor. Vendor is not necessarily the brand or manufacturer. Vendor is the distributor, or wherever it is that brick and mortar retail store ordered its perfumes wholesale to be sold at their counters. Sometimes it's a private distributor that's contracted by a house or several houses. Like Creed famously had their own distributor for a long time in the United States. And that distributor, which was also at one point run by the owner of Bond Number 9, Maurice Ram, that particular distributor did a lot of things that were kind of funny. And that's how a lot of us got really cheap Creed perfumes for a while, because of that distributor's sort of fast and loose nature. And you see, that's just it, guys. Whether you're LVMH, whether you're Wertheimer, which is Chanel, whether you're L'Oreal or Coty, or even Avon, if you're selling something to a brick and mortar store, you need a distributor for that, because a lot of times these houses do not sell directly to the first line retailers, the brick and mortar stores. A first line retailer can also be a website, but it's infrequently that you see that, like Lucky Scent has a physical retail space, Twisted Lily does, right? So even if they primarily do their business online, they still have a physical store. So there are some rules about that anyway. Most of these first line retailers are required to have a physical store if the distributors are going to do business with them. And that has to do with laws in states and countries. And we can get really into the weeds on this. I don't want to get into the weeds and make this more confusing than it already is. So let's not do that. Someone who's had retail experience for about 20 years, right? Off and on, before I moved into security, I know how a lot of this stuff works, how the back end of all this works. and it's the same really, whether it's electronics, whether it's food, okay, doesn't matter. This system is in place for basically everything you buy in a physical store. There are distributors that work with suppliers. They are the middlemen between the supplier and the first line retailer. Now, the gray market really wasn't a thing until the internet age. Okay? That's what you must understand. Previously, what would happen is if product was returned to vendor, was RTV'd, the vendor took it back, and then the vendor had one of three choices. Okay? They could possibly send it back to the original manufacturer or supplier, right? Get their money back, wash their hands of it, and say, hey, we ordered this from you. Our client stores ordered it from us. They couldn't sell it. They sent it back to us within the period, because a lot of times retailers don't pay for it until after it's sold. That's how they're able to return it in the first place, in case you're wondering. So RTV is only possible because they don't pay for it up front. It's not cash on delivery. It's not COD. It's done through business insurance, which is another thing. Again, we're getting into the weeds here. I don't want to do that and confuse you. But stores have business insurance that lets them order things, sell them, and then basically pay for what they sold, and then send back what they don't. That's how that works. It's kind of on the arm, like a drug dealer. Gives you the baggie now, and he catches up with you later with his money. And if you don't have it, well, then you end up on the news, right? So it's kind of like that, but less lethal, I think. The business insurance lets you play with their money, and unless you're not turning a profit and able to pay them, like what happened to Sears and Fry's, who both had their business insurance suspended. So both of those businesses had to operate on a COD basis. And when you're doing cash on delivery, that means you can't really run an effective business, since you got to have the money to pay for the inventory before you can turn around and resell it, right? Those kind of businesses were like good in the Middle Ages, but doesn't work in our modern world. So anyway, like I said, in the old days, three options. You could either, as the distributor, you can send it back to the manufacturer. You can't get rid of it. They're willing to take it back and maybe resell it again to another distributor. And it just keeps playing musical chairs, right? It just keeps going around until somebody eventually, on the consumer level, someone eventually buys it. A lot of discontinued fragrances stayed cheap and stayed plentiful for so many years because they played that game of patty cake like that, where it was not a successful fragrance. The distributor bought it. The retailers ordered it from the distributor. They couldn't sell it. They sent it back. Distributor sent it back to the original design house or the chem house or whoever made it. They found another distributor to buy it, who then bought it again. And then it just kept going, just doing this and going around and around. And then 10, 15, 20 years later, these are vintage fragrances now, but they're still new in box because they're still shrink wrapped and sealed, because nobody wants them goddamn things. Or the second option happens. The second option used to be, if your manufacturer wouldn't take it back from you as a distributor, then you could liquidate it, which means you try to sell it at least at cost, right? So you don't lose money. So you liquidate it out. If you liquidate it out, then you're selling it at basically what you paid for it. And then the liquidator takes it and puts a small markup on it, and then flushes it out and makes some money. And the liquidators are the brands that a lot of us grew up with in the 80s, like J.J. Newberry and Caldor, and modern day equivalents would be stuff like Ross, TJ or TK Maxx, Marshalls, okay, these kind of places. And they go under tons of different names, but they all do the same thing. Ollie's Discount Outlet was a local one back in Baltimore. they took scratch and dent stuff as well. So they had a lot of scratch and dent things. But these are liquidators. They take the merchandise that the distributors can't send back to manufacturer anymore. So they got to eat it, or they can, sell it for cost and wash. The liquidator will take it and then, just like I said, put only a small markup on it. So, and then sell it. And then, of course, a product that was sold at cost, marked up only a little bit, and then sold to the customer, looks like a great deal, right? Again, $25 bottles of Cartier and stuff in Ross and TK Maxx. Not so much nowadays. Those things don't end up in discounters like that anymore. But once upon a time, you could get Pasha all day, every day, right? You could get Santos all day, every day in those stores, and they wanted $25-$30 a bottle because it's just cost plus $5 or something, right? And then third option. The third option is scorched earth. Can't send it back to manufacturer, can't liquidate it, or don't want to liquidate it. You instead just want to get a tax write-off. And so you know what the tax write-off means. It means you have to destroy it. And this is very unpopular, but it happened. Lots of stuff just got taken out back and smashed and set on fire or whatever. And then it could be like, we don't have it anymore, so tax write-off, Or they could just misplace it. And this is where the whole gray market thing comes into play. They could just misplace it somewhere. It fell off the truck. And then, again, they can write it off. They can get tax money. At that point, they're losing money, but they're losing less money, right? They are done with it, so they're writing it off. Now, the gray market, as we know it today, really started to emerge with marketplace sellers, with eBay at first, right? And then later on Etsy and Mercari and all the others, Bonanza. Because eBay was originally designed as a site where individuals like you and me could create accounts and sell stuff to people that we didn't want. Well, obviously, these big distributors who order from the big chem houses and order from the designers and the niche brands, they're like, well, if Joe Blow can sell his grandmother's Avon on eBay, what's to stop me from making an eBay account and selling literally thousands and thousands of unwanted perfumes that I can't send back to manufacturer, I can't liquidate through traditional means like Ross and TJ Maxx, and I don't want to take them out back and burn them because then I'm going to lose money negligibly. So what can I do? Well, hey, I can just have a small fulfillment team within my warehouse, because you're a distributor, so you already have the warehouse, right, for all your brick and mortar customers. So you can just have a small fulfillment team inside your warehouse and then create your eBay account and call it Perfume Deals 101 or whatever, prime perfumes, fragrance low cost 10375-2, because the eBay names are always stupid, long, and hard to remember. Perfume for lovers or something. And hundreds of those popped up. They were everywhere. Okay? A lot of the distributors that run their own websites now at first used eBay. Before they made their own online stores through Shopify or whatever, or just had someone web code them out a bespoke website. Before they did all that, they used eBay. So you had Joe Blow selling his grandma's Avon and some golf clubs and stuff. And then you had these big distributors stuck with all this perfume that they can't sell to Macy's and stuff and Nordstrom. And like I said, they don't want to liquidate it. They don't want to take it out back and smash it with a baseball bat. So they just open up the eBay stores, get the small fulfillment team to take the orders, and boom, they can sell this stuff for $10, $15, an $85, $100 bottle of perfume, sell it for $20 on eBay, free shipping, right? And boom, 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 boom. It's people are like just like, oh yeah, you know, people are suddenly willing to take a chance on an unknown fragrance, willing to take a chance on an unknown brand if it's cheap. And all of those B tier, C tier, D tier designers that people don't remember, right? Like John Marco Venturi and stuff like that. All those brands that people just Bill Blass, right? All these designers that were still making perfumes, Etienne Aigner, right? Putting out fragrances that nobody was buying in stores, but distributors got stuck with them. And now they can sell them on eBay for like a quarter of the price that they would go for. So 75% discount to you. And people online, you know, the early days of Base Notes, Makeup Alley, Badger and Blade, later on for Grantica. The early days were like, hey, this is only $20. Let's see what it's about. This, you know, this Ted Lapidus fragrance. Let's see what it's about. It's only $20, right? So all of those fragrances that were just for literal decades, 10, 20 years, were just languishing, collecting dust. Average person was just busy wearing Polo or Poison or busy wearing Eternity or whatever, right? They couldn't be bothered with whatever John Marco Venturi was putting out. Didn't give a shit, okay? So suddenly it's $20 on eBay, and you're like, okay. Same thing with all the celebrity fragrances. So, you know, like the Elvis perfume that now everyone loves from the late 80s, that back in the day they couldn't give that shit away. They tried selling it in JCPenney. They even had Elvis impersonator sitting there at the counter trying to sell a perfume. He had been dead already a decade. It's kind of sad, actually, that his progeny kind of milked his legacy like that with some cheap perfume. I like it. It smells good, but it is what it is, guys. So now the stuff had a way of selling, and the gray market was kind of born through eBay like that. And then obviously, once there was money to be made, a lot of brands realized they could scale up and just have their own websites, right? Why pay eBay all of these selling fees, right, when they could just have their own website directly? The only thing stopping them, traditionally, distributors are not allowed to sell directly to the public. So if these warehouses that have all of these exclusive licensing deals with Chanel, with Coty, with L'Oreal, if they were to just cut out a hole in the side of the building and have like a service window right there, they'd be breaking their contracts. You know, they would be getting sued by Wertheimer, getting sued by LVMH or whoever. Back then it would have been Gucci Group, okay? So they couldn't do that. However, the internet was the wild, wild west, folks. And laws did not specifically cite that a distributor could not open a retail arm online and sell the perfumes. They would have to use a different name, of course. They couldn't just call themselves whatever they were, but there was nothing illegal about it. Technically, it wasn't legal to sell the fragrances retail directly from the distributor, but by creating a different LLC, right, a different corporate organization that pulled its inventory from the distributor, the left hand basically taking from the right hand. That's why it's the gray market, because it's not entirely illegal, but also not entirely legal either. There's nothing that a corporate lawyer working for L'Oreal or whoever can do about that. They can't stop that. So guess what? FragranceNet, Perfume.com, Perfume Empire, Beauty Encounter, right? Max Aroma, Fragrance Buy, Perfume Online Canada. All of these stores, these online discounters that usually make you buy a minimum amount if you want free shipping, or else they charge you so much shipping that you lose whatever discounts that you're getting. But suddenly they had a new business model. The other aspect of the gray market is obviously the stuff I said earlier about the whoopsie, what happened to this box? We don't know. We never received it. It's not in our bill of lading. We don't have it. And so it's marked lost or stolen, and it's written off for insurance, a tax write-off, and it ends up on eBay. Or it ends up on Gift Express or one of those other ones. That's, again, why it's the gray market, because it's potentially stolen, it's potentially fraudulent. Not fake, though. The gray market does not sell counterfeit perfumes. Those are just sold by literal counterfeit bogus sellers. And when you find those guys on eBay and stuff, and Mercari and Etsy, you need to take them to task and hold them accountable. Now, you shop somewhere like Temu or Wish.com, you're on your own, because that's all Chinese stuff, and you know they have zero regulations over there about any of that. So someone I follow on Instagram bought Latafa perfumes from Temu, and they were all fake. I know you're like wondering, who the fuck bootlegs a clone house, right? They make originals too, yes, but they are known for their clones. It's like the brand's already making dupes. Why would somebody fake dupes? I don't know. Ask Temu, okay? Go ask them how something like that would even seem worth the effort. But it happened, guys. So the gray market also has a lot of those kind of perfumes. And testers. Testers are not something that can also be legally sold retail to the public, because they are not first for resale, and they are oftentimes either given to the distributors and retailers, or they are sold to for a very low price, right? They are a very discount price, and then the distributor, if they got them for free, can then pass them along for free to the retailers. They're only allowed so many, obviously, and then they can put them on their counter. Customers can spray them and test them. But as you might imagine, a lot more testers get made than probably get used, especially for those more obscure fragrances that people don't seem to want or buy. Why are you going to make a tester for like a fragrance brand that only people on base notes even know exists? It seems no point. You know, at that point, open up a retail bottle, get reimbursed or something. Why manufacture a tester for that? But they do. And again, can't legally sell those retail, but the legal loopholes involved with these online sites that sell all this stuff direct from distributors at a huge markdown right to you, the savvy online shopper, they sell the testers there as well. And there's nothing any corporate lawyer can do. They can try. I mean, you know, Chanel took down Notino in the U.S. years ago. That was a big deal when that happened. Notino U.S. got taken down by Chanel. But that's because Chanel is very draconian and strict with their distribution deals. Their distribution deals are so legalized out, you know, so exacting, that it's like Disney with wanting to not let the guy sue the restaurant because he had a Disney Plus account and his wife was poisoned or something. Like, it's some shit like that where it's all legalized out so much. And Chanel was like, well, you're not allowed to sell our perfumes for prices lower than our MSRP, right? No way, no how. And it's like they just had the legalese to to say, yeah, you're getting our fragrances at the wholesale prices, and then you're marking them up at a low markup and then selling them on your website, and that's against our contract. So we're going to sue you for $1 bajillion and nuke you out of existence. So again, gray market, not black market, not white market. It's the gray market. So sometimes those sellers do get got, right? That's not really good English, but they get gotten by the brands every now and then when they just put one step over the line too much. Now, the rumors that you hear about watered down perfumes, false. They are retail product or they are tester product. The rumors you hear about things that are no longer legal to sell in the EU due to SCCS restrictions, which end up being IFRA restrictions, so can't legally sell this perfume anymore because it has too much lirol in it or whatever, or too much oak moss. That's true. Those do get dumped into the gray market because, again, those brands don't want to lose that money. So they're like, okay, we've got 5 million bottles of Versace the Dreamer. We can't sell this in Europe anymore because they've banned the white floral material. The liliol has been banned in this, and the lirol has to be reduced. We don't want to just take these out back and, again, hit them with a baseball bat. So what do? Oh, we'll just give FragranceNet a call in America. We'll give places that are outside the SCCS, right, outside of Europe, we'll dump these in these foreign countries, and they can sell it. And we don't care because we'll make our wholesale price, whatever we sell per bottle, $20 per bottle, then they can just do what they want with it. So a lot of fragrances that are one formula back, they have restricted materials or there are formula changes for whatever reason, those do end up in the gray market and they get to sell those. Same thing applies to packaging changes. If packaging changes and the brand decides they don't want these particular bottles anymore to be sold at counters, off to the gray market they go. And of course, you also have the fragrances that get basically discontinued and the brand no longer wants to bother selling them off themselves. So they just pull them off from shelves, send it off to the gray market to get eaten up, right? So that's what happens. Now, the rumor about brands like Creed, Parfums de Marly, Xerjoff selling directly to discounters, that is true. And it is true because the perfumes are already priced, you know, even at the discounters, they're priced high enough after the wholesale price that the brands make their money. And you have to understand, Creed, Xerjoff, Parfums de Marly, they make their money from the wholesale. They make all the money they're ever going to make on the bottles of Aventus, on the bottles of Naxos, on the bottles of Leighton. They make all the money they're ever going to make at that wholesale price, which is what, $125, $200, whatever, okay? They're making that money right there. So then, once the distributors have the fragrances, they then pass them along to the retailers like Nordstrom, like whoever, and they have that agreement with Creed, that agreement with Xerjoff, that they won't retail them for less than the price. So that's $600, right, for Creed, $350 or whatever for Parfums de Marly, $400 or something for Xerjoff. But that's just a gentleman's agreement, right? The distributors are not held to that. So the distributors can just turn around and mark them up only a little bit. So they get it for $125, sell it for $225 if it's a bottle of Creed. You know, sell it for $150, $175 if it's a bottle of Parfums de Marly. And those brands are okay with that. And the reason they're okay with that is, again, they've already made their money and they don't care. They already give tons of bottles away to influencers. They already give tons of bottles away to YouTubers and TikTokers. they don't care. Because if they sell 5 million bottles of Aventus, they don't see that $600 from each one sold retail. They don't see it, okay? They only see whatever their wholesale price is. And as long as they move those 5 million bottles at that wholesale price, they made their money. And the people who are willing to spend $600 for it, they're just suckered out of the money by the retailers, okay? And they're not so high up on the horse that they really care. Now, Chanel cares. Brands like Chanel obviously care. But they don't. So yes, they do directly sell to the gray market guys, because those guys are once again the same distributors who send the stuff to the retail stores to sell at full price. It's the same. It's the left hand and the right hand, same body. Okay. Hopefully you understand how the gray market works now, whether it's eBay, whether it's a separate website, or maybe traditional liquidators like TJ Maxx and stuff. This has been the Unlist. Hope you enjoyed watching.